We all want love. Well, we don't know the power of connection with ourselves in order to create the relationship we desire. But how do we find something out if we never been taught it? How do we learn something and walk in the path of healing? How do we identify the love that we have to give? See, a lot of times people don't tell us, or life don't tell us, or God don't tell us, or whichever one you want to say, why you should work on yourself. And why it's so important to say I should put myself first in order to learn what I need to do, who I'm becoming, and why. It's so hard to pour into somebody when you have nothing to pour into them. Why? Because you don't know who you are as an individual. You don't know what you're working towards. You don't know what you're trying to accomplish. You don't know what you can accomplish. So for today, for the next 30 minutes, we're going to be speaking about self-love and why it's important to have it for yourself rather than shine away from it. This is a this is something that is hard to understand because I wasn't taught how to love myself. I was taught how to value myself. I was taught how to be independent. I was taught how to be me. But just as far as loving who I am as an individual, as a person, as a man, it wasn't taught to me. It was taught to me. I learned it over time from my experiences, what I went through, what I had to overcome. You see, self-love comes from knowing yourself. When I was young, my mama raised three boys by herself. And as she's doing this, she's teaching us how to be independent. And by independent, I'm talking about not depend on anyone. About not depend on anyone, how can we function as a person? To say, I know how to do this, I know how to take care of myself, I know how to pay the bills, I know how to drive, I know how to live, I know how to cook, I know how to survive. But see, being independent is phenomenal because we don't have to depend on the next person to do something for us because we can actually get up and go take care of it. But that level of independence is blocking us away from reality. We're so in tune with ourselves, we don't know who we are. My mama raised three boys by herself, did a phenomenal job raising us. But as she's raising us to be the man that she wants us to be. That she wants us to be, right? There's nothing wrong with it. A woman can't raise a boy to a man. A woman can do the best she think of what a man look like. A boy has to emulate a dad. A boy has to emulate a man each and every day. I love Betty Vet to death. I love her to death. She taught me so much. She showed me so much. She expressed her love in different ways. But as I'm growing up, I didn't understand how much of a problem loving myself was going to be. I didn't know what it was. I didn't understand it. It wasn't taught to me. It was around my whole life. I was around teams, people, in a different environments. So I didn't have a chance to just sit in myself, sit in my misery, sit in my pain, sit in everything I had to go through until my 12th grade year. My 12th grade year, I tore my ACL. And when I tore my ACL, it was really hard for me to accept that I can no longer play with my team, that I can no longer play with my brothers, that I can no longer play with my family because we worked so hard to develop as a family, as one. But instead of 100 people coming together as one person has to know who you are as an individual. I was a great player. I thought I was a great player, okay? My 11th grade year, I ended up with 66 tackles, I believe. My 12th grade year, I had 26 tackles in 4 games, which means that I was really, I was a great player. I put my all out every time I stepped on the field. Every single time I stepped on the field, I put my all out. But it wasn't. It was for me, but the end result was for the team. So if I don't do my part, the team doesn't win. But if I don't understand my role, we lose, right? But self-love is so much more than just your talent. It's so much more than just your skill. It's so much more than an environment. The thing that I've learned about self-love is that you have to work on yourself. Work on yourself. As I'm playing football, each and every day I was working out. I was studying, I was learning, I was implementing what I was learning. I was around my teammates, I was building my teammates up. We was learning together, we was going through the ground together. We was doing everything as one. But as I learned, when I started to work on my craft behind the scenes, it developed a little bit better. Not only was I a good player, my footwork was amazing. My speed was amazing when it needed to get turned on. Now I didn't now in the 40-yard dash in the sprint, I didn't run that fast. Fastest I ran was a 4.7. But in the game, you can tell that I gave it my all. Because if the player that caught the ball is 10 yards down away from me, I'm running full speed to get to this man. Because I want to play my role. I want to perfect my talent. We can't do this if we're not putting forth the effort to do this. But as I'm playing football, as I'm going through the process of practice, film sessions, and growth, I didn't know how much it really involved in my self development phase. I forgot about myself, but I was focused on my talent. Like you, I struggled with finding myself. I didn't have a purpose, I didn't have a dream, and I was just lost. I was depressed. Not only was I depressed, I had to find out how to heal. So here's the thing, I created 10 tips to shift your mindset because if your mindset is not right, things will be overwhelmed. My new book is out and it's called Master Your Mind. 10 tips to shift your mindset. If you want a new copy to learn more about yourself, to learn from somebody that went through what you're currently dealing with, click this link down below. Click this link down below because the story is so impactful because it's gonna demonstrate to you that you're not the only one. You're not the only one that was depressed. You're not the only one that was heartbroken. You're not the only one that felt lonely. When you learn from other people, you're able to grow because you're able to see and put yourself in their position. Again, I created a book, Master Your Mind, 10 tips to shift your mindset. In order to get the book, you have to click the link that's going to be in the description. Click it, get it, read it. And please let me know. Please leave a review on how this book made you feel inside and how you're going to use the tips to implement in your everyday life. I'll see you there. When I was working on myself, I was working on my talent and I forgot who I was. I didn't know who I was, so I can identify this is who I am, this is why. I just knew in the back of my mind, I need to work hard every day just so we as a team can grow. And the reason why it's so hard to understand and grasp is that I lost myself in the process. As I'm growing and learning and overcoming different obstacles, I'm learning that it's going to be hard. But I just thought it was normal to forget about who you are. I forgot about self because my teammates counted on me to do my part. Not only did my teammates count on me, I had everybody count on me, my brothers, my mama. But they was counting on me subconsciously to say, do the best that you can do every time you go on this field. So over here, my talent is being built. Over here, my self-development is not even brought up. It's not even worked on. It's not even understood. It's not even brought to light. But as I'm working on my talent, I get better each and every day. Each and every day. When I got injured my 12th grade year, I realized talent can only take you so far if you don't work on yourself. When I got injured, when I tore my ACL, everything was taken away from me because that was the only thing I was working towards. I was working towards my team, doing my role for my teammates, not knowing and paying attention what self-love is. know that I care at the time because it was winning, we was celebrating, we was having fun, we was, it took us out of reality to place us the in the environment of a family, of a second family, okay, or of a second family. But it was so special because as I'm working on my talent, my player, my teammate, my brother, my family is right there beside me working on his talent. So it's not like I'm doing everything by myself. We're doing it as one, but as we're doing it as one, self love was not brought up. It wasn't brought up until I had to heal from my injury. When I started to work on myself, it was in 2020. When I tore my ACL, I was just going through the process of healing and make my legs stronger. I didn't know what self love was because I just wanted to get better. Not only did I have to sit in the misery, but the misery was blocked away because I didn't accept what had happened. I didn't accept what had happened, so it really made me open my eyes up. 2022, and I went through a divorce. Working on yourself, it plays a major role in your life. Not only my 12th grade, I didn't know what self love was, and I didn't understand it. It took me all the way up to 6 years later to identify what self love really is. Our relationship, my relationship didn't work because we didn't know how to communicate. We didn't know each other. We didn't know ourselves. I didn't understand the value of a relationship and or like what it even meant. 2022 taught me what self love was because I had to go through it in order to learn that it is okay. When I started to work on myself back in 2022, I started to learn what pain was. Pain is something that's going to open your eyes up to say, I've been blocking this my whole entire life. And by blocking it, I'm actually talking about putting blinders on and shying away, running from everything that you now went through. Again, my mama taught me how to be independent. She taught me how to take care of myself. She taught me how to depend only solely on myself. Again, as I was playing football, my teammates depended on me, so we're together as one. Football taught me how to pay attention to the small details, not self-love. How to be fundamentally sound and not develop personally. But it goes together because how can I pour into someone, pour into something, pour into an environment if I don't know who I am? It's kind of like having an empty bottle. I'm sorry. It's kind of like having a quarter full bottle trying to pour into the next, and you barely have something to pour because you don't understand what's going on. When you're empty, when you're so confused with the process becomes confusing. What am I trying to pour? Why am I trying to pour something to the next person when I don't know what's being poured? So this is confusing. This is absolutely confusing because how can I help the next when I don't know what's being helped? An empty vessel can't pour into a vessel if there's nothing to pour. Why? Because you have nothing to give. Working on yourself it is an understanding that you have to focus more on who you are as an individual. My relationship taught me that when I work on myself, I learn more about who I am. So for my next point, you have to learn more about who you are. God dog it. Learn more about self. Learn more about self. I'm gonna rewrite that because that did not look like learn. Learn more about self. Learn more about self. You see, as I was going through my divorce, I didn't understand what was happening. But I had to learn I needed to go through this in order to learn more about who am I becoming. See, self-love comes from being single. Self-love is not purposely, but being comfortable being alone. Being single is knowing that it's going to be okay. It's not the end of the world. However, if I don't know what I bring to the table, if I don't know myself, we can't grow together. It can't be two empty vessels trying to pour into each other when there's nothing being poured. It's kind of like a waste of energy and time. Why? Because you have to know who you are as an individual to say, I bring this to the table, and I know for a fact I can make you better because I've been working on this my whole time. Single season is identifying what you're able to handle and what you're able to not handle, and who you are and what you've been dealing with your whole entire life. Not only are you developing self-love, but you're working on yourself. You're working on everything that you didn't know how to put together, put the pieces of the puzzles together to say, I went through this, I overcame it, and this is how I did it. Until we learn more about who we are as an individual, we'll never get it. We'll never get it because now we're looking for someone to block the pain that we don't want to accept. We want to avoid going through that. We want to avoid suffering. We want to avoid dwelling in our misery. We want to avoid sitting in our pain. We want to avoid it because it's not comfortable. But me and my wife, my ex-wife was going through the divorce, it taught me that pain is going to come regardless of the fact. In fact, it's been coming my whole entire life. I just never knew it. I just never accepted it. I just never understood it. It really taught me how to have patience and grace with myself. When I learned that, that's when I started to develop self-love in a different manner. That's when I was able to grow into a new version of myself because the old version was no longer hiding away from his pain. It is going to be difficult. It is going to be overwhelming. It is going to be stressful to the point to where I didn't want to do it no more. I'm not saying I wasn't going to do no harm to myself, but I didn't want to sit in my pain because it really hurt me, hurt me so much. It really broke my heart to where the pieces of the heart was like in shattered positions, shattered pieces. But there's a lesson behind the pain when you accept the pain that has already happened. When you learn more about yourself, you're able to identify the pain that you've been pushing away from you. What this is doing is building you up to learn more about who you are as an individual, to learn what you can take, what you can't take, what you're willing to handle, what you're not willing to handle. Instead of approaching somebody for their looks, I'm approaching people for the person you are today. Why? Because now I'm building something for myself. I'm building an understanding for myself. Life is going to happen. It's not going to stop happening. We have to learn how to accept adversity when it's time to accept it rather than run away from adversity when it's presented right in front of us. Self-love is difficult. I'm not sitting here and saying as you're going through your journey, it's going to be easy. Absolutely not. It's going to be hard. It's going to push you to a new level of growth that you didn't know that you can walk into. It builds you up. It breaks you down to build you back up. But now you understand the power of self-love. Self-love means that you are able to love yourself for everything that you've been through, all the pain, all the suffering, everything that you've been shying away from. You're able to identify it and accept it and start healing. You're able to say, I'm okay. You're able to give yourself grace. I started to give myself grace and understand why I was shying away from my pain. Because it does something to you. It breaks you down, deteriorates you, and it makes you vulnerable. Makes you vulnerable. When I went through my divorce, I started speaking about what was going on. Not just to one person, not just to two people, but to multiple people because I didn't understand what I was going through. But as I'm going through the process, as I'm going through the phase, I've learned that I wasn't alone. I learned that there's other people dealing with what I'm currently dealing with. But how do you learn something if you don't have the courage to speak up about it? At the time, 2022, I didn't understand what I was doing and why. But it taught me so much about the person I am today. Last, last, last thing that I learned about self-love is to be patient with yourself. Be patient. Be patient. Before I say this point, if you're having a hard time understanding who you are as an individual and want to shift your perspective, I wrote a book with 10 tips to shift your mindset to help you find who you are. And the book is called Master Your Mind, 10 Tips to Shift Your Mindset. If you would like to get that book and start healing and growing and learning that it's okay to go through what you're going through, click the link down in the description and get the book and read it and understand it because you're not alone. You just have to learn who has went through what you're currently going through in order to start healing. So point number 3, be patient. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen overnight. When I went through my divorce, I tried to get over it so quick because they hurt my feelings so much. I tried to get over it. But the thing that I learned is that it takes time to heal as you're going through something that's traumatic. When I tore my ACL, it was hard for me to get up every day to do the small exercises, to go to physical therapy, to build the muscle, to be consistent. Just it's so much that goes on behind healing that we don't understand we have to go through unless we actually walking through it. I've learned the only way to overcome a tragic event is to walk through it rather than skip it. Because one thing that we can't do is force the pain to cut. One thing that we can't do is to force the pain to leave when the pain has just started. So now it's steady hitting us. We're steadily feeling it. We're steady trying to understand it, but it's not gonna stop hitting us. It's not gonna stop destroying us. It's not gonna stop knocking us down off our feet. It's building you up into a new version of yourself. As I was healing from my injury, I felt the muscle get built over time. I was able to squat 315 pounds on my back on my new ACL. It was mind-boggling because I never was able to squat 315. But as I was dedicated to overcoming this pain, a new level of growth hit me. A new level of awareness was in me. I became someone that accepted the pain because I knew the pain was the key to my healing. But see, I didn't understand what healing was, not only just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, as a person. I don't have my team to depend on no more because it's all about me. It's in the way, okay? It's up to me. I won't say it's all about me. It's up to me to figure this out. How can I position myself correctly if I want to heal and grow into a new version of myself? One, I have to be dedicated to the journey. I have to know that everything that I'm doing is going to pay off over time. I have to be patient and I have to be understanding. I have to be patient to myself. It is going to be hard to say, I can do this. I can love myself. It's okay to love yourself. It's okay to accept yourself. It's okay. It is okay. But when you be patient with yourself, you're learning the flaws of who you are and that you're not perfect as a human being. You're going to mess up. I still mess up to this day. But how do you do something twice if you never started in the beginning? Right? It hit you different. You're able to observe it in a different manner. You're able to say, I can understand why this pain happened at the time that it happened, rather than making excuses for when the pain come. You're not making excuses no more. Instead of making excuses, you accept it. And once you accept it, you grow. But once you grow, you start to develop self-love. As people are coming to your life, you know who can stay in your life rather than who can't. Why? Because you know yourself. You know what you're willing to put up with rather than what you're not willing to put up with. How do I know this? Because I went through the process of healing. I went through pain. I went through suffering. I went through depression. I went through a heartbreak, but I overcame it because I didn't let the hard times, the difficulty times stop me from growing. As you start to work on yourself, or you start to love who you are as an individual, you have to learn why you're doing what you're doing. Is it for the next person or is it for yourself? When my team got taken out of my life, I had to do it for myself. I can no longer do it for my teammates. I had to do it for myself. So who are you doing it for? Why are you doing it? Self-love is going to teach you how to work on yourself in different manners of who you are. Physically, emotionally, spiritually. It comes a point in time where it's gonna hit you like I'm a new version of myself. God teaches us. God teaches us lessons when the lessons are meant to be taught. You can't understand something that you never had the grasp of walking in if you always ran from it. When you learn more about yourself, you're able to identify the strength that you develop mentally. How do I know this? Because without your mind, you're nothing. Without your personality, you're just the flesh. Without acceptance, you just neglecting. You are neglecting your pain. Learning more about yourself meaning that you're learning to handle everything that's been thrown to you in a manner and time that you've received it. And now, how can you overcome this? You learn who you are. You learn who you are. That's the key to this. Learn who you are, then the answers will present in the time it needs to be presented. Be patient. It's not going to happen overnight. You can't heal and find yourself overnight. You have to continue to speak about things that's bothering you. You have to say, this is what's bothering me. I don't know how to adapt to it. You have to verbalize and say what's on your heart. The more you speak about your pain, the more you're slowly healing. But you can't heal if you don't start with self. Being patient is going to take you on a journey that you're not ready for. But as you're going along the journey, accept it each and every day. Accept it each and every month. Accept every trial that comes at you because it's going to be at different ways, different time, different manner, different positions. But it's helping you accept it how it comes rather than how it can become. You feel me? It takes time. Self-love has to be worked on every day. When you work on it every day, you learn more about who you are. When you learn more about who you are, you become patient with the journey because it doesn't happen overnight.